Hey everybody, before I get started, I just want to mention a couple of ways that you can engage with me on a more personal level. I have a few avenues set up and I keep focusing on one, and I figured why don't I make a short little video talking about all of them real quick before we get into these episodes. So first thing, Patreon. There's a link in the episode description, in every episode description to the Patreon, as well as a video on the feed called Major Announcement that has all the details of what each tier offers and how much they cost. I implore you to check that out. I offer a lot of cool shit for my patrons. Second thing, the Discord channel. There's also a Discord link in the episode description and in every episode description. I have multiple channels set up there for each show that I'm covering, and it's a great way to just engage with me. I have a channel set up for MMA talk as well. I'm a big MMA fan, so if you're an MMA fan, you can check that out as well. There's a link to the Discord in the episode description. And then lastly, the Facebook and Twitter. Social media. Follow me on there. I post news on there. When I say news, I mean like, hey, I'm stopping covering this show. Hey, I'm starting covering this show. Let me know what you think about this. I do live watches of things on Facebook where like I'll check in and say I'm watching so-and-so show, and then I'll like live comment while I'm watching it, and that'll be cool if maybe you watch that show too and you want to watch along with me, or you're watching it later and you will see my thoughts, which are usually pretty entertaining because I'm usually pretty high when I'm writing them. So check out all those links in each episode description, and let's talk about this episode. Peace.
One mic, one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. One mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. One mic. One mic.
Hey everybody, welcome to One Mic, and today I'm here to talk about Season 1, Episode 3 of Showtime's The Curse, entitled Questa Lane. The episode title here is based on the location of the property that Asher purchases at an auction in this episode, the very beginning. And this is their routine, right? They've said this. They buy properties for cheap. They wait for the land value to increase. And they also contribute to driving up those values themselves with these eco-friendly homes and the gentrification and all that good stuff. It's a cycle for them. And this plan doesn't go so well from the start, though. And it's interesting because while the auction was going poorly, and while Whitney was giving Asher shit for what he spent on the property, my thought the whole time was, man, the curse sure is busy for these two right now, which is a much funnier thought by the time you get to the end of the episode and learn what we learned about the curse in actuality. But there's so many aspects of this show that I find interesting, engaging, and or entertaining. Yet, as it pertains to the show as a whole, I'm kind of just wondering where this is going and not feeling like I can see a destination. It's hampering my enjoyment just a smidge. Now, of course, I understand this is entirely a me problem. You guys may not give a fuck where this is going, and you're just like enjoying sitting through all the cringe and all that kind of stuff, and I'm enjoying it too. I just keep finding myself constantly wondering what the creators are trying to give me with this show. Like, am I meant to just sit back and enjoy comedy? Am I meant to kind of sit back and cringe in my seat, or lean forward and cringe in my seat? Should I be drawn in by these characters and their relationships with one another? Or am I supposed to be invested in the story of this couple with the struggling marriage trying to get an HGTV show off the ground despite being cursed? It kind of feels like it's supposed to be all of the above, and my only issue there is that I feel like each of those aspects is kind of underserved here. Does the show have funny moments? Absolutely. Absolutely it does. But would I call it a funny show? No, not really. Does it have cringy scenes? It sure as fuck does. But would I say this show is meant to keep you in that state? Not necessarily. I think the aspect of this show is done the best and is given the most attention is the relationships between the characters. And I think the plot line is probably the aspect given the least attention. So I kind of feel like this show is trying to be a lot of different things and has had high moments at each of those things that it has tried to be. But in an overall sense, it kind of seems like it's struggling to juggle all of them. And the show just kind of feels like it's all over the place at times for me. I don't want that necessarily to be perceived as a criticism. I am acknowledging we're only 3 episodes in out of 10. And these are long episodes too. I have to admit it feels like I've gotten more of this show than I have. We're only 3 episodes in, and that's not that far into a season to feel like I need to have a commitment to a thing yet, But at the same time, does this story feel like it has 7 hours left in it to you guys? I don't feel that way at all. I was shocked to find out this is 10 episodes. I figured this thing had 2, 3 left in the tops. I can't even begin to imagine where this is gonna go to justify 7 additional hours. But having said that, let's talk about this week's episode. And like I said, in one of those opening scenes, we see Asher buying this property on Questa Lane at an auction. We also open with a scene at a school. It starts off focusing on this young white male, but then he moves and we see one of the little girls from the first episode, the one that cursed Asher. And she leaves school and we follow her home with her sister. And all of a sudden, there's a knock on the door. They panic, as do I, because there doesn't appear to be any parents home. I'd freak out too. And then we start hearing drilling, and I'm like, holy shit, someone's breaking into these kids' houses with no parents there. Please get them the fuck out of here. But no, it's not a criminal, at least not in the traditional sense. It's just Asher, and we come to understand that the girls who cursed him are squatting at the Questa Lane property that he has just purchased. I'm the captain now. He comes home as the police arrive, and the police are ready to get the whole family the fuck out of there right then. But Asher, like the Grinch, his heart grew 3 sizes in that moment, and he says that they can stay as long as they need. Now, I said in the my little summation piece that I feel like the characters and their relationships are the best aspect of the show, and I think this is a good moment to talk about that. I think the show did a great job of giving us some insight into Asher's perceived kindness in this scene. Earlier in the episode, Asher and Whitney watched footage of a focus group talking about their HGTV show. And this is also a good example of the show doing comedy well. There was a lot of funny moments in that scene. Every time the focus group's conversation shifted to a place where they were talking about the show in a way that would be beneficial to Asher and Whitney, the interviewer kept steering them back into shit-talking Asher, which I thought that was hilarious. But I think hearing himself being disparaged like that affected Asher, particularly as it pertained to how other people perceive him. So when he's in front of that cop, he doesn't want to be the guy that the focus group talked shit about. He wants to be the good guy. So he's like, fuck that. They can stay here as long as they want. But then when he's in the car with Whitney and it's just them and there's no cameras and there's no cops and there's no focus groups, that kindness went out of the window really fucking fast. And I like the insight that gave me into who Asher really is. Like, Whitney suggests that since they're going to let I'm the captain now and his family stay at the house, that they should throw a few grand into it to make the living conditions better since it was such a shitty place. And she suggests, he's like, yeah, we can throw like $5-6 grand into it. And then Asher like tries to talk this down to $500. And it's like, well, whatever money we put into it, it's lost. So why put a lot in, which is a solid point. But like, it's still, you know what he's up to. Like, so like these people don't have to live in squalor since you want to be so kind in front of others, Asher. Like, you could do something. $500, what the fuck, right? And then Whitney suggests that they make a GoFundMe for the other displaced people. And setting up a GoFundMe doesn't even cost them money. And Asher is like, yeah, we can look into that after we've exhausted all other options. I was like, what the fuck, man? Like, that doesn't cost him anything other than 20 minutes of time to create the website. He's like, we don't need to do all that shit. But regardless of how I feel about Asher's behavior, though, that was just, like I said, that was great work on helping me to understand what kind of person he is and how what determines how he behaves in any given moment. Like, I can bring that into future scenes now. Like, I can be like, okay, there's a lot of people around. Asher might succumb to pressure if he knows, because he don't want to look bad, especially again, given this the situation with the reporter. So, like, we could use that. Now I feel like I know who Asher is, and that's important. Whitney's not much better though. She continues to be that obnoxious, like, white liberal that doesn't understand just how offensive she is. I described Whitney this way in a previous video, and we see it again here in this episode. When her and Asher return to the Questa Lane house to put new locks on the door, Whitney just cannot seem to wrap her head around the concept of poverty. I'm the captain now is boiling hot dogs for dinner for his kids, and she's like, you gonna have that with rice? He's like, no, we gonna have it with buns. She's like, yeah. But, like, you gonna sit it next to, like, rice and vegetables and shit, right? He's like, nah, just ketchup and mustard. And then we're then met with another example of how funny this show can be when it wants to be, when he talks about when they talk about the tiny curses. It turns out the curse that was placed on Asher was just a tiny curse that the girls learned about on TikTok. So essentially, you just say, I curse you, and then you think of some random, stupid, irrelevant, dumb thing like someone's shoes being untied, something completely fucking harmless. And I'm sitting there like, first off, this should be a colossal relief to Asher since he was lying about paying the girls back anyway. And secondly, if the curse even isn't legit, how the fuck we get 7 more hours out of this show? Because what the fuck, man? Like, what is this shit about? But then Asher is like, so what kind of tiny curse did you put on me? And she's like, no chicken in your pasta. And dog, I completely lost my shit. Like, that was a great moment. And then the rest of the time, they're like casually talking about it like the dumb curse that it is. And every time they cut back to Asher, he's justifiably looking completely terrified. I thought that was so funny, man. Every time they showed his face, I was laughing. And then he kept bringing the shit up throughout the episode. Like, you think they dug through the trash and saw what we had for dinner? Like, man, I don't even think it was meant to be as funny as I found it. Like, I don't know why, but that was brilliant because I thought nothing of the chicken dinner scene. Like, I mean, I thought of it, but I was just like, I just dismissed it. And now it hasn't even been that long. This is just the 3rd episode, but I completely forgot about that. And when she said, like, no chicken in the pasta, I was like, oh, shit. Oh, these little girls got powers. Oh, man. But yeah, that was great. All right, where was I? So the last thing that I want to talk about, not overall, but from a character perspective, is Dougie, of course, who I pointed out each of the first 2 videos is low-key like the most interesting character to me. The focus group that I mentioned earlier, dragging the show, puts the idea of HGTV picking up the show in jeopardy. And Dougie doesn't seem too concerned about that, which Asher points out and seems confused by himself. But Dougie is going through it. Like, this guy has a lot to be sad about, and he has no one in his life. Like, I don't think he cares about the show at all. He just wants to be around other people. And then he has Asher constantly, like, saying shit like, why are you still here? Like, can you imagine, like, if you're Dougie and, like, you feel responsible for killing your wife and you have no one and you're alone and you're making this show with these people and they keep going, like, why are you still here? Like, you don't have nothing to do until we know if the show is picked up. Why don't you go fuck off somewhere? And Asher is just consistently clueless on how Dougie wants seemingly nothing more than just time and companionship. Like, in this episode, Dougie's like, hey, I'm walking around your neighborhood. You want to hang out? And Asher's like, nah, I'm not even going to be home. Which, given Asher's personality, may have even been true, but may not have even been true. Like, they might have been going somewhere, but he might have been lying. But then we get this long shot of Dougie very clearly not walking down the street, but laying in bed looking forlorn and shit, and the fucking camera just hangs on him until he starts crying. And I'm just like, man, this is fucking sad. Like, this guy is carrying all this guilt regarding his role in his wife's death, and he has no one to confide in or be around, and he can't even stop himself from staining the white couch with the blueberries right after he was asked to not stain the couch with the blueberries. Like, oh man, I feel bad for the guy. And, anyway, that's the last thing I want to talk about from a character perspective, but the last thing I want to talk about in general is the big scene at the end of the episode with Asher and Whitney and the whole help me get my sweater off debacle. So, there's a lot of stuff that I thought was interesting that happened in this scene. For starters, the acting is incredible. Like, they first have to do the scene as actors portraying characters having a naturally fun and candid moment. Then they have to do the exact same scene again, but as actors portraying characters pretending to have a naturally fun and candid moment. I'm like, this has to be really fucking challenging for an actor. And then you have the fact that after the authentic sweater situation, Whitney's like, oh, this is the real us. But then they argue and really have it out, and they say hurtful things to one another, and then they see themselves on camera and realize, no, that was the real us. The version of us that was arguing. I don't know. I just thought that was some really good stuff in that scene. Like I said, I'd like to feel like I have a better idea what type of journey I'm going on here overall with the show. But so far, I am enjoying what I'm getting quite a bit. I do intend to continue watching and covering the show. I will be watching episode 4 tonight because it's Thursday night. I'll be watching that up. I do intend on getting the video up on time now. I'm going to be caught up after tonight, so I do intend on watching episode 4 tonight, Thursday, November 30th. And hopefully, I don't see any reason why not. I should be able to get the video up tomorrow morning at some point, December 1st. So not until next week, hopefully until tomorrow. Peace.